Good morning. We are going to do 3 movements today, and there will be a focus in and around the outer hips. There'll be a little bit of twisting involved, which is why in the little blurb I said this is not ideal if you've got back or SI joint pain, simply because I can't see you move. Typically, if I'm going to teach these 3 things to a student or to a client, I know enough about their body and I know enough of where I need to help them adjust and where to help them notice and where to become aware. So they've gone through enough of a stage that I know that they understand a lot about their whispers and a lot about their symptoms, and they understand that they've got less fight with their body. So there's a lot of assumption that I'm making when I am offering this up to a client. So all I ask for you is you just pay attention. If your SI or your back is bugging you, I really wouldn't recommend this. There's so many other videos I've done. We're at like number 80 or something since March 15th. There's so many other ones in this feed that I really recommend that you do instead. Or if you really want to get to the bottom of it, let me know and let's do a 3-month series together to really and truly get to the bottom of it and help you unfold and unravel and feel good again. Okay, but here, we're going to do these 3 movements. Have a bolster and a block ready. This is a longer hold. You might need the extra support. And you can see that I'm just in a little bit of a different attire today. That's because after this practice, I am going to go for a run. All right, so let's begin by doing a little warm-up prep for this. And you've seen this before if you've followed me. We're going to be on our backs like this. And we're going to take one leg over and then one leg over, right? So one leg comes back this way and one leg comes over. So what you'll see, if I do it from this angle, what you'll see is my leg leads and then my leg and my pelvis lead going the other way. Yeah. So my shoulders are on the ground. And if I can't make it all the way to the ground, like you'll see here that if I'm limited and my knee, let me scooch back a bit, my knee will want to not come on top because the pelvis isn't coming around. So if you've got limitation between your pelvis and your rib cage, then you're not going to come all the way over. So you don't have to come all the way over. I just want you to notice that that's what's happening. So then you can bring your awareness to your pelvis and your spine and your rib cage and just get a feel of what's actually happening and going on there. Okay? So just kind of get a sense of what's going on through those segments of your body and notice just where you're at. Just because my legs are coming over does not mean that's the way to do it. I just want you to notice your pelvis and your ribs and your spine and the relationship between your parts. So you might be coming like as far as this. That's totally fine. The key is just to be aware, right? We're not trying to nitpick your movement. What I'm trying to help you do is recognize the language of your movement and the language of your symptoms so that you can really notice what your bandwidth is at this point. And then you can start to grow it. Okay? All right, good. All right, so now, having noticed that, my goodness, it's like 10 after 5 in the morning. Does anyone else think I'm crazy for doing this? I'm joking. I'm joking, really. But sometimes I do wonder about myself, but that's besides the point. Okay, let's do this. Why I said that, I'm not sure. Okay, we're going to bring ourselves over now, and now we're going to come into a hover. So we're now stopping this movement. Okay, let me just scooch back a little bit. So we're stopping this movement at the point where your leg, if I put a level on this, it would be level with the hip. Okay? Shoulders are on the ground. And here we are. Okay? Let me show you this angle here. This there. Okay? So let's do the side view so you don't need to see my butt view like that. Okay? And we're going to put a timer on. We're going to be here for about 2 minutes. Now, the reason why I have the block and the bolster is because you might need to put a block like this. It might be too much. or a bolster, which is fine. You can do that. Whatever you support, but you get that if it's hovering, that you're having to use your outer hip to hold it. And watch that you're not bracing with this lower leg, and that you're just easily breathing. Yeah. Easy, easy, easy peasy, easy beasy breathing. Yeah. And so let this not be an exercise, although it is an exercise. Let this actually be a yoga practice. So to pay attention to your breathing, to pay attention to what you're feeling, and if you need the block, place the block. If you need to come out of this a little bit because there's too much happening in your outer hip, then do that. Please don't just do the position because I said this is the position you have to do, because the work or the benefit doesn't come from the position. It's how you moved into it, how you're in it. I'm not one of these teachers that's like, you have to stay in it and experience the spiritual transformation that can happen while you're in an incredible amount of pain. That's not the way I practice. Yep. So it's, if you need to come out of it, come out of it. Just be. Yeah. Shoulders easy. And then as you start to notice your outer hip, it's like, oh, interesting. Look at my outer hip. Look at how my outer hip is working to help keep my leg up. Isn't that so lovely that my outer hip is doing that? And then you breathe. Yeah. And you notice if your other foot or your leg wants to push in, or if you brace through the rib cage, and see if you can really relax through all the other areas of your body. Just really, 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 really relax. Okay, good. And then we could actually be here for longer. You could even be here for even longer if you want, but I'm going to stop this. I'm going to bring this down. Okay, and then we're going to come back the other way. Good. And then we're going to do the other side. So we're going to come over. And there we go again. Just really super easy. Finding your breath. And like I just noticed that my leg dropped a bit past its level, so I just brought it back up. And as I did that, I just started to I just am noticing what's going on. Sometimes things drop because you're getting pooped out. Sometimes things drop because you've lost your awareness. All sorts of reasons. So it's just noticing what you notice. Easy through your feet, easy through your bottom leg. Easy breath, and just notice yourself. Just notice. Feeling the breath through your armpits, softening your face. Pulling your brain back from whatever you're thinking about, if it's a to-do list or something in your future or in your past. And just come in and easily breathe. I was doing this earlier this week, but I was doing holds for 5 minutes. And it's so fascinating what really starts to happen when you're in the hold for a longer period of time, where the sensation on the outside of my hip was working. And I could feel other parts of my body wanting to kick in, and then I just relax them. And then they'd kick in, and then I'd relax them. And then I'd kick in and I'd relax them. And I'd smile. Right? It's what starts to happen. Okay, let that leg drop and then come over. It's what starts to happen, like as you gain better and better function of your body, right? And you're not experiencing pain and you're not experiencing strain. It's a muscular effort, right? And you get to the place where you can distinguish between these pieces very, very easily, so that you know your bandwidth. Yeah, you really know your bandwidth, and you can
enjoy the experience. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but you can enjoy the experience of the effort, right? Without the pain, right? Because you can absolutely have effort without pain. Okay. All right. Now we're going to do something similar, but different. So we're going to come back over to the position that we were in. Let me reset this. Okay. Where we were. And now we're going to take this knee and we're going to bend and straighten it a couple of times. And then we're just going to hold it to whatever that end range is. Yeah? And then we're going to start. Now, you might find after a minute or so that you're going to need to put a block underneath you. That's fine. But until you get there, let's just experience what's going on with your leg. And let's experience what's going on with your breathing, what you want to do with your bottom leg. If your hip flexor really wants to get involved in it, and if it does, either take your leg back to the bent position, or you can bring a block under. If you've got pain in through your SI, your sacrum, your lower back, I would come out of this. And I would come into this gateway one instead. Yeah. Because when you get into the hovers, you're really asking yourself to get into some strengthening work, which requires some really good function. Yeah. And we don't want to put the cart before the horse. We don't want to do things before you're ready. Yeah. And I know that there can be a big desire to do that. I mean, I get it. I'm human. I'm just like you. And sometimes there's a bit of trial and error to figure out, am I going too far, too fast? And you just figure it out, right? And you start to recognize the pieces. I did a recording for my podcast, which is going to launch very, very soon. We've already launched one episode for some people to trial out. And I did it with Stu, my husband. We were talking about his psoriasis. And we're going to be here for about 15 more seconds. And then I'll talk about Stu's psoriasis. Okay, and then we're going to take that, drop that down, and then we're going to come on over. Okay. And in the conversation, okay, come on up. Over we go. And then the leg, let me give you a different angle here. There we go. And in that conversation, we talked about his bandwidth and how there are 4 pillars for him that he follows. And if you were to look at him today, you would have no idea that he has psoriasis. When I met him, and over the course of our relationship, his psoriasis has just become so red and really, really flared up, and he's just had to figure it out. So from the time that he met me and learned a little bit through osmosis and a little bit through my suggesting and through trial and error and through the grieving process of giving up some things he really, really loved, like alcohol and some sugar and things like that, he figured out his bandwidth, right? So you figure out your bandwidth of what you can do and how that relates to what your activity is you figure out your bandwidth for where you're at now, your function. And sometimes you go beyond it. Sometimes he eats too much sugar and he can feel some itchiness coming, but he can catch it at a whisper level, so then he can intervene. So you want to do a hike, or you want to do a stand-up paddleboard, or you want to do a bike, and you go a little bit too much. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You're learning about the way you move. Yeah? You're learning about the way you move. And then sometimes you just say, to hell with it. I want to do this thing. Okay, good. And then let that go. And then come on back. Sometimes you do that. Sometimes you do that. Sometimes you want to play with your kids. You get down on the floor. You say, I know I'm going to pay for this later. But you go into it consciously. That's what's key. You're going into it consciously. And you're having a ton of joy and a ton of fun. And then, yeah, maybe you pay for it later. But then you've got the tools to take care of yourself, right? We're not in a space. I really hope the message that I'm not bringing forth to you, and just let your legs relax. That's why I'm not moving to the next one. I'm just letting you relax. You can straighten the legs out if you want. What I hope the message that I'm not letting you or leading you along, which is not the message I want to lead you along with, is that you can't do something if you don't have the function for it. No. You might not choose to do it because you know you don't want to pay for it later, or you might not choose to do it because you really just want to explore how your body is in space. But if you do choose to do it, you just know, like, you're just doing it so much more consciously. And there are people who decide, like in Stu's cases, he no longer drinks alcohol. He really limits the amount of crap that he eats. And there's so much other things in his diet that he's changed, and he has a much more reliable, consistent meditation practice. How he gets out in the world and cycles and gets outside. I mean, a lot has changed. That he has discovered is what helps his psoriasis. Okay, next one. And I'll say one more thing about psoriasis. We're going to cross one leg over the other. We're going to then twist over. Same thing. Shoulders stay on the ground. Twist towards the floor. Now, you might not reach towards the floor. So if you don't, you can bring a block and do that. Okay? Shoulders on the ground. Don't go to the floor just because Susie's going to the floor. Go to the floor because you can. Right? And it feels good and you've got the function. If not, if you don't have the function, then and what I mean by this, not having the function, is you're starting to feel in your SI, you're feeling in your spine, you're feeling in your rib cage. You're not feeling good. Yeah? Stay in the place where you feel good. All right? Let's go back to my timer. There we go. So I was talking and finishing up about Stu's psoriasis, and that is that everything that I've learned through Stu and his psoriasis is that, like everything else, how people experience psoriasis is so entirely unique. All you need to do, once you have someone in your life who has psoriasis, you will see all the psoriasis products out there, from creams to CBD to food to, there's all sorts of solutions that work for all sorts of people. But you need to find what works for you, like everything, right? So he has figured out what's worked for him. And so that was our podcast that we recorded yesterday while the kids were sound asleep in their naps. And we'll launch that podcast in a little bit. All right, easy. Super easy breathing. But the overall message is you kind of have to be a detective. There's somebody in my certification program whose husband is a detective, and so she was talking about when I was teaching a concept, and she was saying, yeah, it's kind of like the difference between being an eyewitness and being a detective. And an eyewitness, you're seeing all this data, but you're not actually choosing the thing that's going to help you move forward in the case. Yeah. So we can be an eyewitness to ourselves. Thank you, Ashley, for this. I loved that. I want to talk more about that because I think it's really helpful for us in our healing process, as well as those of you who are teachers. But the idea is there's us being the eyewitness to what is going on in our system, and there's us being the detective who is pulling all the data together to help us move forward and to help us create some correlation, to understand what happened. Yeah? And what's happening, and in terms of our body, what can we do to intervene to support ourselves? That's us being the detective. Really, really great analogy. Okay, let's unwind the legs and then slowly come back. All right, good. And let's take a breather.
And then let's cross over. So I'm just moving my body over because I want to be more in screen for you. I don't follow the twisting methodology that a lot of people do, where we move our hips and then we cross our legs and then we twist. I just start in the position that we're in, cross the legs and then twist. I'll explain more about that momentarily. The reason I don't do that is because, or the reason why I think those people do it is because they want you in alignment when you're in the position. But to me, it's not about alignment, it's about the trajectory of movement. And so so if I start out of alignment and then move into something to be in alignment, I've messed up the trajectory of my movement. So yes, I'm not in what people would consider alignment by meaning why they're moving their hips, but rather my trajectory of movement is actually more aligned and much more harmonious. So that's the way I do it, And so you can agree or disagree, and so long as you do what works with your body, that's all I care about. My mic, I'm caught up in my mic here. There we go. That's what's key. So it's all very interesting, us exploring our bodies, us being with our bodies. And not just numbing out, going into an exercise and going, okay, exercise, do me. Like you're in relationship with your body, and you're learning and you're experiencing and you're feeling what your body is doing and how you are. I mean, you're also experiencing the gyrations of your mind, and whether it's something that I said or whether it's something going on in the world, whether it's a to-do item that you need to do, just bring yourself back to your body and your breath. And all of that helps you have less fight with your body. And your body becomes your barometer. Your body becomes this remarkable thing that we inhabit. And so much of our life, I'm in my 40s, we've been stacking compensation patterns. Now, I was very fortunate, I wouldn't have said at the time, but I was very fortunate that I developed persistent pain in my 20s. And then I used yoga and my own discovery to overcome that. But I learned a lot of these hard lessons in my early 20s. And so yes, I still, through my 30s and my early 30s and my 40s, have stacked compensation patterns for sure, but not in the same way that a lot of people who got through their 20s and their 30s without a lot of stuff. Not in the same way. So for those of you who are in your 30s and your 40s and your 50s and 60s and 70s, you've got some stacked stuff, right? And so you're unraveling it, okay? And then unhook your legs and then unravel. So you're unraveling that. And I've worked with a lot of people who are in their 50s and their 60s and their 70s. Most of the time, the people I work with are older than me. That's because I'm now in my 40s. It's starting to change a little bit. But for the most part, I've tended to work with people who are older than me. So just, rest and relax and ease. And what I've noticed is that when you move in a range that doesn't increase pain, when you move in a range where you can really become aware and like an eyewitness and a detective to your system, and really allow yourself to be curious about what's going on, then you discover all this communication that you didn't understand or know about before. And you become and you have this quieter sense. And let your legs come away from you. You can put them, if you want, you can put them over a bolster. We're now going to come into a resting space. You can take them over a bolster now and just be here. If you want, you can, if you need to do one more that I didn't include, if you want to do some butterfly here, you can. And just bring the legs out and in, you can do that. If you want to come into Baddha Konasana, you can do that. So just choose a movement here that works for you. Or you can bring the bolster under your legs. But when you start to really become interested and curious, rather than just following some exercises and having the exercises being done to you,
And you really begin to understand the landscape of your body and what your body is all about. It's amazing what can change. I'd love to write a book, or I'd love to collaborate with the guys of Younger Next Year, which is a great book that is designed for people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And the idea is that what you do in your 50s will impact your 60s, which will impact your 70s. And so how you live, right? And how you move and what you eat. And I would love to do the yoga version of that. I would love to do the awareness version of that. I would love to do the you can be better in your 50s than you were in your 40s and your 30s. My dad would say when he was 79 and 80 and 81 that when he did legs up the wall, his legs felt 25 years younger. So the bottom line is your tissue can change no matter your age, and you can enjoy better functioning. The thing is, you got to build up your eyewitness and your detective skills. Be curious that there's nothing to fix at all, that there's just this awesome thing called your body and your system, and things can change. Yeah, and you can feel awesome. And so with that, you have a really, really, really good rest of your day. If you're joining me in before you go to bed, have a great sleep, and we will see you tomorrow at 5 a.m. Mountain Time around my time. All right, take good care. Have a great day.